don't do it for a week. Don't do it for 2 weeks. Like, do it for 3 to 6 months. Like,
Yes.
really give yourself the opportunity and the chance to make a change and see it through. Otherwise, you're just gonna be hopping around like a crash diet, right?
Y-
Like, it just
Yeah.
never really does anything for you.
Hey, Carla.
Hey, Mary, how are you?
Doing great because we're finally launching our women's health podcast that we've been talking about for years now, I think.
Exactly. I know. I can't believe it. I'm very, very excited about this. It's literally been a dream of mine. And I don't know about you, but my life has been absolutely crazy this year. I'm going through tons of changes all at once.
A lot of
And
transformation.
yeah, so much. And I'm ready for new adventures and new projects and new excitement. So this has been definitely a dream. So excited to be here with you.
I love that. And for our very first episode, we wanted to introduce ourselves to our audience, tell you a little bit about how we met, what we're about, what we're going to be talking about on these podcast episodes. So, Carla, why don't you start? Tell us a little bit about you, your credentials, how you got into this work. Let us know who you are.
Yeah. So I currently live in Los Angeles, California, but I am a Cali girl through and through, born and raised here, Northern California. I am a registered dietitian nutritionist. So I did go to school for a degree in nutritional sciences. Some universities also label it as like food and nutrition. So that entailed afterwards getting licensed as a dietitian. And I've been actually kind of all over the place with my work. Like I've been in the corporate wellness industry, I've been in private practice, very much like you, Mary. I've been in the health tech industry, and I've learned a lot, but I think the number one thing that I've taken away from all my experience is that I love educating people and I love talking about, the hard topics that no one wants to talk about. And in that like journey, I really fell in love with working with women specifically. Because I might be biased, but I think we have a harder time really regulating our body, our emotions, our physiological, parts of our body. And it's not something that we're raised talking about, and it's not something that we're educated about. So, yeah, that's I think kind of where I had this like I would say niche of working with women. And in my private practice, I saw specifically clients with GI issues and actually, believe it or not, acne. That was something that I struggled with in my 20s, like my adult life. I had hormonal like adult acne pretty much all through my 20s, early 30s, and I really had to educate myself what was going on instead of just listening to my doctor's prescription of either birth control or medications that could be damaging.
That's right. I feel like a lot of us have gotten into this industry to help people because we've learned how to use food and natural therapies to help ourselves. And I remember when we met, I think 10 years ago, you were really focusing on skin health. And I was really admiring the work that you were doing, both with yourself and being able to heal yourself and helping other women.
Thank you so much. That means a lot. But yeah, skincare is still something that I'm incredibly passionate about. So it will definitely be an episode at one point or another that we discuss because I have a lot to share and I learned a lot through that process. But yeah, it's directly tied to our internal health. So it's definitely not something that we can ignore. But yeah, I kind of came across, I would say, this field more or less, not just because I was interested in it, but like you were saying, Mary, like we both have stories to, what got us to this point. And for me, I really think it was, my gut and my skin issues and just really going through, eating disorders and losing my period for 3 years and just regulating my body and just having to learn through those difficulties and wanting to help people, that are going through the same thing.
Yeah, we have a lot in common in that we both sort of were drawn to this field because of similar past experiences.
What about you, Mary? Can you give us a little summary of your past and what brought you here?
Yes. So I'm originally from the South. I'm actually coming to you from beautiful North Lake Tahoe, California, where I live now, where there's amazing outdoor activities and skiing and lake life. I love it here. I lived in San Francisco for a long time before that, which is where you and I met.
Yeah.
So, coming from the South and growing up in the South, there's a lot of emphasis placed on looks.
Mm,
And that was really hard for me in my childhood. There was just this emphasis that your identity is wrapped up in how you look. And that kind of derailed me a bit in terms of I developed an eating disorder as a teen and then in college. And then after college, I was looking for help. And I
yeah.
remember looking for nutritionists or someone or a health coach. There's someone that could help me. And I couldn't find anyone that specialized in exactly what I wanted to learn, which was how can I turn this around by helping me understand how food can heal my body instead of feeling at war with food. I would starve myself all day and then binge at night because I was so hungry. And that was a cycle that went on and it made me super depressed. So I was looking for someone who really was an expert in that field and I couldn't find anyone. So I decided to go to school and be a nutritionist because I wanted to teach people what I couldn't find out there. And I didn't want to specialize in eating disorders specifically, but I've always been drawn to holistic medicine and natural healing. Holistic just meaning that you're looking for the underlying causes of your symptoms instead of just treating the symptoms with a medication. I really want to understand what is making this happen. These symptoms that you're experiencing are your body's way of saying something is off balance. And I do this with my clients. I have a private nutrition practice now, specializing in women's health and gut health, like you were talking about. But
Yeah.
rather than just covering up the symptoms, which is sort of what our conventional medical system does, we both have this root cause approach to health
Yes.
and wellness, and we'll be talking about that a lot.
Yes. Thank you so much for bringing that up. I completely spaced on that, but I think that's what really brought us together was our alignment in our values and the way that we see health, specifically women's health. But yeah, that functional medicine piece, right? And some people may not be familiar with the term functional medicine. I feel like the word holistic is so overused and it
Oh,
makes me
me too.
cringe.
I have
Yeah.
that on my website actually, that the buzzword that nobody understands what it means.
Yeah. And this might be a good time to, like, clear that up because I feel like a lot of people hear it and they're like, "Oh, that's just woo woo." And there's no science behind that and, our doctors, like, put that down or whatever, and I just wanna, like, clarify, like, that's not the case at all. Really the basic principle of it is, like you were saying, Mary, like, really asking the whys, like, finding the root cause so that you're not putting band-aids on things. You're really getting into the understanding of the symptom at hand. And that's really pretty much what it is, right?
Well, I think you mentioned skin and healing
Mm,
your skin, and my story too was I was on hormonal birth control for 10 years. And when I started studying women's health and decided I didn't want to take hormonal birth control anymore, I stopped taking the pill and completely lost my period for 2 years. It caused a lot of deficiencies in my body. It really kind of affected my endocrine system. You know, your endocrine system is your hormonal system. So I went to the gynecologist and she gave me a bunch of medications to restore my period and they did not work. And around this time, I was going back to school for nutrition and studying diet and women's health and herbs. So I changed my diet and I took herbs that help restore estrogen and progesterone levels. I had very low estrogen, I had very low progesterone, and it worked. And I remember having this light bulb moment of how the medical system kind of failed me. And here I was using these natural plant-based medicines, their supplements, and changing my diet so that I was a vegetarian for 15 years and I started eating meat again because I was pretty
yes.
depleted in certain nutrients that women need in order to
Yeah.
have regular cycles and healthy fertility. So the combination of changing my diet and including some animal protein, using various supplements to restore some of the deficiencies that I'd experienced and help restore my hormone levels. It was really, it's kind of a profound moment when you are able to see how effective these therapies, these natural therapies can really be in bringing the body back into balance.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's something we definitely have in common. Because I went through very similar experience where I kind of did every diet under the sun, but specifically like vegetarian and vegan and like the most common ones. But I had never experienced such low energy and just like not being able to do much throughout the day. It was so odd, right? And that's something that we'll definitely get into in later episodes because I think there's a lot to say about that. I don't like to see things black and white. I do want to respect that everyone's body is different and there is a purpose for I think a lot of diets out there and a time and place, but that doesn't mean that for longevity or for long periods of time that it may be good for someone. Um, so I just kinda wanna throw that out there. But yeah, and speaking into, like, the our medical system, I also wanna say that, like, I truly believe that there is a time and place, absolutely, for our medical system, and it's unfortunate, though, that a lot of the things that we talk about when we're talking about, like, root causes and supplements and herbs, like you said, Mary, are just not something that we use, not because it doesn't have science, but more so because that's not how our medical school curriculum, like, trains our doctors. And I see this more so right now. I don't wanna get off on a tangent, so let me know if I am. But my dad is sick with cancer, and I'm in every single one of those doctor phone calls or doctor's appointments because he's across the country. But, like, he recently was going to get his gallbladder removed, and I was like, "Wait, wait, 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 wait." There's a lot of nutritional deficiencies here that, post-operation, that could, happen, and I was really scared, and so I started asking the doctor a bunch of questions and, like, asking about some supplements he can take, and he's like, "Oh, I've never heard of that. I don't really know what that is." Like, he was very open to it, thank God, but I guess the point I'm trying to make is, like, they just unfortunately don't know, and it's not their fault.
Well, that brings up a really good point too, is something that's been topical lately is a lot of supplements and certain herbs that do have clinical trials behind them have been dismissed by the medical community as woo or snake oil. And let me be clear that there certainly are very poor quality supplements out there. A lot of them aren't regulated, but to your point, yes, doctors get something like one module of nutrition in med school, and it's usually pretty outdated nutrition. They don't understand how certain herbs and supplements work. So the default is that they must not be safe or you shouldn't take them. But the tides are maybe turning on this a little bit. I feel like there are more herbs that are being clinically studied, and we see the relevance and the usefulness, and certain herbs, especially that don't carry the side effects, but can be as effective in clinical trials as medications. And we're going to talk about that on this podcast. And speaking of, Carla, tell me what you're excited to bring to our audience.
Ooh, that's such a good question. Honestly, I'm just excited to bring light and awareness to whether it's topics or maybe like myths that people didn't really understand were myths. Like, I think we were talking about the other day, Mary, like people think that some symptoms that they're experiencing are normal. And that's not necessarily the case. So, like, we always hear like what is the phrase? Like, you're just surviving, you're not thriving. Like,
Mm.
I think it's kind of cheesy because I hear it so much, but in a way it's true when we go through life just realize or just thinking that what we're experiencing is normal, we don't know anything different. So why would we change, right? And especially as a woman, we, could have really bad cramps or we go through periods of fatigue. or we might have, pain in certain areas, or we might have adult acne and we just think it might be normal and we just take this pill and it goes away. But really, there's a reason to why your body is reacting this way. And I think that's the thing I'm most excited to talk about and to kind of shed light on and hopefully just provide some clarity and guidance to, women going through the same thing.
Love that. And yeah, to your point about women's health, and traditionally, women have been kind of dismissed in their health concerns. I read a statistic that was something like women are several times less likely to be admitted immediately to an ER with really debilitating symptoms over the time that a man gets admitted to the ER. Our concerns
Wow.
traditionally have been brushed aside and not taken seriously because we're hysterical. Like the root of hysterectomy comes from hysteria, right? And there's historically been a lot of medical gaslighting in women's health and in the medical system. And many of our concerns are pushed aside, dismissed, especially women. The conversations around menopause right now are changing. That's something we're going to talk about, where women used to suffer silently going through these transitions in their life, but now more women are coming out and speaking up about it so that nobody feels alone. And we are this kind of tribe. So we both do feel this connection to really wanting to help women because
Yeah.
traditionally our concerns have been dismissed. So that's
Yes.
something that's really important. And then we really just want to, for me, I want to have unfiltered conversations where we make health topics accessible and easy to understand for everyone. There's a lot of misinformation out there that we seek to dispel. A lot of these topics can be really complex. And I work with women all over the world who probably have spent months Googling their symptoms and self-diagnosing before they come to me and are so overwhelmed with the information out there. Just making these kind of complex topics really easy for women to understand so that they can take actionable steps to really help themselves. And that's important to me. And I know to you too.
Amazing. I would ask what you wanna bring to the table, but I feel like you've already discussed that. So if there's anything you want to add.
Well, the topics we'll be covering specifically are women's health is such a broad
Yes,
topic, right?
very.
And we're both nutritionists. I'm a nutrition consultant, you're a registered dietitian. So our focus will be heavily on nutrition, obviously, and how nutrition relates to women's health. But we're going to cover all things women's health, and that includes relationships,
Yes.
sexual health, beauty, aging, mental health. And that's kind of what the holistic model is, right? Is that you're looking at the whole person and all of these factors in your life, like stress level, emotional wellness, sleep, even movement, nutrition. Nutrition is just part of that. So the
Yes.
holistic model is really looking at all of the things that create health in a person. And even though we're going to have a heavy nutrition focus, we'll be talking about a lot of these other topics as well. Did I miss anything?
Oh my gosh, that was so, so well said. No, and that's actually what my next point was gonna be is like, yes, our backgrounds are, nutritionists. However, in that, realm, I feel like you have to address these other issues that affect your health. And so even though we may be the experts on nutrition, we, I feel like as a byproduct are experts on other things because we've had to do the research. We've had to help our clients through these things. We've had to help ourselves. And I feel like there's a lot of topics beyond food and nutrition that we're may not be experts in, but we're, I think, pretty qualified to talk about.
Oh, yeah. We both know how dramatically stress can impact health, especially women who have more sensitive systems than men, and just your daily habits, how the tiny little daily habits that can impact your health so dramatically just beside your diet. So, those are all things that we want to bring to the table and have women understand that it's more than just one specific thing that's going to make or break your health, but it's these tiny little things that add
Mhm.
up to resiliency.
Absolutely. And consistency. Like I think that's the biggest thing I've learned throughout my life with anything, right? But
Consistency.
specifically with your health. Like you
Yeah.
whatever you do, don't do it for a week. Don't do it for 2 weeks. Like, do it for 3 to 6 months. Like,
Yes.
really give yourself the opportunity and the chance to make a change and see it through. Otherwise, you're just gonna be hopping around like a crash diet, right?
Y-
Like, it just
Yeah,
never really does anything for you.
exactly. And one other thing I wanted to mention, we have talked exclusively about women's health throughout our time together here today, but I do want to say that we are going to occasionally have episodes for men to help men better understand women's health. And so guys out there who have mothers, sisters, coworkers, wives, girlfriends, and you want to help or you want to understand her cycle better, you want to
Yeah.
understand a little bit more about what goes on in the minds of women, we're going to have episodes for you occasionally also, because the more that men understand women's health, the better that everybody can understand each other, right?
Oh my gosh, yes. Not to get political, but absolutely yes. We need men to understand, what's going on in our mind, body. Like, if not, then there's just, a level of that uncomfortability, and then speaking from a place of, for lack of a better word, ignorance. And again, not their fault. It's just that we're not taught this. And so if, it's hard enough for women to understand ourselves. I can't imagine a man like being completely clueless as to why we're experiencing all these emotions and feeling all these things month to month.
Exactly. And that's why every man should have his girlfriend or wife's cycle tracker on his phone.
Yes.
But we'll talk
I
about that
absolutely. Yeah,
also.
for sure. Put that in the calendar.
But yeah, we're super excited to bring all of these topics to you, and we can't wait to get your feedback on what you want to hear about. And Carla, is there anything more that you want to say or you want our audience to know, or a good tidbit that we can leave with today?
Yeah, I mean, if anything, I would say we are all ears on topics that, you want to hear about. So, we've obviously heard from Mary and I and what maybe, coming at you in the next few months. But if there are specific topics that, you haven't heard us talk about or are of interest to you, or you're struggling with something and you're finding it challenging to kind of navigate the information that you're finding on the web, fair enough, by the way. Please like write to us, leave us a comment, go to our socials, whatever it is that you want to communicate with us. But I think, yeah, we'd love to hear from people because I mean that's what this is about. We're doing it for people.
Well, and also I would just want to add that we do not shy away from controversial topics,
Mm.
and that's going to be part of the unfiltered conversations that we have, that we really want to bring there's nothing off limits. We have these unfiltered conversations between ourselves all the time. And that's kind of what we're hoping to bring, that vibe, our fun, conversational, bubbly vibe that we have with each other. We want to bring that, and we don't shy away from any topic. Everything is fair game.
No. Oh my gosh, Mary, I feel like this has been the most filtered we've probably ever been with each other. Because
We
if we
haven't
ever recorded an actual conversation between the
with,
two of us.
with no F bombs.
Exactly. So, yeah, just FYI that may come out in future
Oh,
episodes.
it 100% will.
Yeah, but, just yeah, think of this, I would say, podcast exactly like that. Like if you're having a very candid conversation with a girlfriend where you are completely unfiltered and, everything's on the table. Like that's exactly, I think, the vibe we're trying to go for.
Yes, well said. And we're bringing our expertise into it. So this is Girl Talk with our expertise that will help shed some light on some of these topics that can be really confusing.
Exactly. Yay.
All right. Well, thanks for sticking with us for our first episode here. And we can't wait to bring you more of our unfiltered conversations and maybe a few F bombs down the road.
Or many F-bombs.
Yeah.
Um, awesome. Thanks so much, guys, for tuning in. And Mary, thank you again.
Yeah. Carla, we'll talk soon.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.